Hey guys, Coach Sean here. I wanted to go over with you how we look at a member's hierarchy of needs in terms of development, and something we always are continually evaluating and looking at, so you guys can get a better understanding and perspective of how we keep you safe and how to progress appropriately. Okay, so behind me you're going to see this triangle diagram, pyramid diagram, and it goes from the base level up, and I'll explain a little bit in detail. So at the bottom, at the most important is you need flexibility, and flexibility is the ability to get into certain positions through passive range of motion, okay? On top of that is mobility, that's active range of motion. Above that is your strength balance, and that could be, think of where it would be someone's deadlift to their back squat, having appropriate balance between those two. More appropriately, what's the balance between extremities? My left arm to my right arm, left leg to right leg, are they strength balanced? Above that would be an individual's work to recovery ratio, okay? Break that down more in a second. And then lastly is developing and mastering the endless pursuit of skill development, okay? The first thing we do with anybody, whether that's meeting them one-on-one, we just did it in group class, is we assess an individual's flexibility through a specific test, the entire body, joint by joint, to make sure you can get in specific positions. If an individual is fully cleared on everything, great, we would want to go up the next level. If they don't, we know and can predict that there's going to be problems down the line if they're unaddressed. Okay, so we'd want to work to correct those imbalances within our flexibility. Mobility is active range of motion. So think of this more as, people get these confused, but mobility and flexibility combined allow movement. Now, a simplest example to give you in this video terms is mobility is, do I have the ability to get these arms behind my head, behind my ears? That's mobility. Where laying on the ground passively, moving my arms is more of flexibility, okay? Strength balance. Is an individual balanced in terms of their strength? A good rule with like a deadlift to back squat to front squat, etc., would be the deadlift should be your most superior lift, and from that you should be able to lift 80% of that deadlift in a back squat that's balanced, roughly. Then 85% of that back squat should be your front squat, and that's balanced across your three metrics there, right? Going more unilateral, left to right, step ups. Take your back squat. You should be able to front rack step up for at least 6 per leg, 33% of your back squat. So in this front rack position, you should be able to step up with the knee in line or slightly above the hip for 33% for 6 plus. That's balanced. If an individual had 15 on one leg and 2 on the other, they are not strength balanced, and they are going to run into problems because they're compensating. Same thing with pressing and pulling, etc. And then work to recovery. This is the most challenging for people. So people are good at the work, come in, put in 3 to 5 hours a week of the work, but the recovery. So here's a good rule. For every hour of work, you should be putting in 10 minutes of recovery. That could be tissue work, range of motion work, and that's not a 5K row, a 5K run, anything like that. Think of more of our warm-up stuff, inchworms and groiners and suitcase kettlebell deadlifts slowly, bar hangs, nose and toes hold, things like that. Those who are familiar with our stuff in class. This also is your rest day, your sleep, your nutrition, and keeping stress low. Bad stress compounds and affects stress, which is workout is stress on the body. And then skill development. This takes the longest to build. The simplest analogy is, think of somebody doing a bar muscle up, pulling and passing over the bar. Are those patterns of movement correct or incorrect? If we have an individual who's building patterns of chicken winging, they're building incorrect patterns, which over time are going to lead to problems. So we would want to know, do they have the appropriate flexibility, the mobility, the strength balance, the work to recovery ratio, are they working out 10 hours a day and not putting in any recovery? Then we can address particular skill development. Maybe if everything checks out here, we're good. It's just patterns. They need to drill the movement. But if there's something, their flexibility, they can't get in the appropriate range to do bar muscle ups, we need to take a step back and get that range, or else it's inevitable when you're gonna get into pain. So these are your hierarchy of needs. Again, to recap, you need flexibility. And that's something that as we age and progress over time, if we don't keep working on our flexibility, does it go up or down? It goes down. That's gonna affect your ability to get into positions, mobility through movement with load, active range of motion, which is gonna then affect your strength balance, your ability to produce strength from left to right extremity, your load, in terms of deadlift to squat, things like that, your ability to pull, work to recovery. Again, we need to be working in more than we work out. Remember that rule, 10 minutes for every hour of active recovery on the body. And then working and progressing on skill. And this is what you see in class a lot of, coaching particular things of patterns, building the correct patterns, how to do a burpee correctly, how to row correctly, to as advanced as a bar muscle up, okay? Those are the members' hierarchy of needs.